All right, welcome back to Behind the Breaks. This episode is a fantastic human being. This guy's definitely worth a watch if you're a whatnot person, or even Instagram and TikTok. He's just a lot of fun. He grew his channel from 0 to 12,000 organically on whatnot, and his shows are absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, definite, Matt. Great information, great stories. Let's get into it.
All right, we are back, and man, do we have a great story. This guy lived every collector's dream. He struck gold in a storage unit and turned that into a thriving business. And he's the founder and host of Blue Collar Collecting. This guy's built a brand from the ground up, organically growing from 12,000 followers on whatnot. So let's welcome Mr. Blue Collar himself, Matt from Blue Collar Collecting.
How you guys doing? Thanks for having me. I honestly, when I got your message, I was like honored, shocked, like me out of all people. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And we paid him to say that. So thank you very much, Matt.
Yes, exactly. That's afterwards.
I'm
Cash
cheap, though.
hand.
I'm cheap. It's really...
No, man, we were excited. When I was watching your show, man, your show's a blast. Your community and these people just absolutely wonderful to each other. And we'll talk about that in a bit. But somebody getting I think it was $100 on-card auto, and somebody else said that was my dream card or something, and they gave it to him. I mean, does that ever happen? I mean, people are fighting for those things.
It's an amazing community.
Yeah,
it really
is. And so we'll get into that. In the show notes, there'll be links to all of your shows, and everybody, please jump in and check out what Blue Collar's doing, because his shows are phenomenal and a lot of fun. And you do an amazing job, by the way. You do an amazing job talking to everybody. That's something that RJ and I kind of look at and we observe, if you will, because that's hard. We break too. And you're basically talking to yourself, and you do an amazing job with it, man. So it's a lot of fun to watch.
It's exhausting at times. But it works. I gotta, with the voices in the head and the people in the chat, you gotta figure it out. But
voices in the head. I like that.
I'm just kidding.
So yeah, let's dive right in, man. Because you've got a story that you haven't told me yet, and that I'm like dying to hear. But let's talk about your life as, I don't know, a collector. Just kind of walk us through, how this started. But before, don't open up the December 2023 door just yet.
Yeah. So, most people you talk to, especially in this community, they're like, I've been collecting cards since I was a kid. It's not necessarily me, right? I do remember probably my furthest memory back was in grade school. I remember a couple of my friends in grade school had binders. This is in the 90s of Michael Jordan and basketball players. I was like, oh, that's cool. But I just never went to it. I never, gravitated toward it. I don't know if it's the ADHD, but, I would be cool. That's really cool. And then I'm moving on to something else. Right.
Right.
But growing up in a blue collar household, one of the funniest things is that my father would always tell us when junk day was. I don't know if you guys know what junk day is, but when you live in a neighborhood, right, everyone, especially in the neighboring neighborhoods where people might be a little bit more wealthy, they put their junk out on the curb. Well, to us, that might not be junk. That's some nice stuff, right? So you go around riding your bike, you're picking up bike parts, you're fixing things, so on and so forth. So
love it, man.
Collecting in that aspect has always been a part. I have, collection. My wife says that if I could have a junkyard in the backyard with all cars and motorcycles, I would. And to me, that's collecting still, right?
That sounds like permission, by the way. So, it's
now
recorded.
Does not want that. Definitely does not want that. But so collecting, I always had a collector's feel, I guess. I'd always, collect certain things, whatever it was at the time. But I really got into collecting after I went to college, Oklahoma State, go Pokes.
There you go.
And started collecting Oklahoma State stuff. So I have a flag. I have, my old school lacrosse helmet. Maybe I'll show you a picture of it. It was just club lacrosse, nothing serious. But that was a blast, and collecting things from that amazing time going there, that kind of propelled into collecting now as an adult. So,
all right. Yeah. Well, you gotta outfit your man cave, man. So,
Exactly.
Collecting. So, all right. So collecting is taking you down this path. So now you're, you and your wife, you're married, you've moved around a little bit. And also, by the way, nice plug for your school there. Nice job.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah, who's
Didn't
paying
do
who
as
now on that
great
one?
this
Yeah.
past year, but yeah. So we moved around a little bit, settled here in Virginia, and what happened was bought a house, amazing, right? And then wanted to build a garage, 3-car garage, built it. My father and I did a lot of the work, but we also had other people come in. Was a place to put the motorcycles, the toys, the fun stuff, right?
Right.
And I'm looking at this garage afterwards, and I go, that's a lot of space that I need to put stuff in, right? And we all know when you have empty space, you tend to put things there. So I was like, okay, I need some workbenches. I need some toolboxes. I need some stuff, right? And I like I said before, I went around to the rich neighborhoods on junk day and I used their old stuff. So I'm frugal, right?
Yeah.
For lack of a better term. So I saw some online auctions. This was like 2022, and you could bid on like Storage Wars, right? And I'm like, well, that seems pretty cool.
Yeah.
I saw an
Nice.
auction one time that was a bunch of stuff for a garage, and I'm like, wow, that's perfect. I could just put it in my garage. I need those things.
I'll take it
Is
from
this-
that unit and put it in my garage, and I'm done. Perfect.
Yeah,
Katie did
this
it
is-
for me. Awesome. Yeah.
This is how things start. So I win the unit for way under what the benches and the toolboxes would cost me. Move this stuff. I'm like, this is great. This is great. Used a bunch of stuff. Thought that was it. Then I'm looking at all the other stuff. If anyone's ever bought a storage unit before for particular things, there comes an excess of other things. And I go, what am I going to do with this? And I was like, well, let me sell it, right? I ended up selling it. And then through selling it, I made my money back and I still had stuff and I sold more and I made a profit and my garage was full of things that I needed. And I was like, wait, this was fun because it was treasure hunting. It was like that junk day back when I was a kid.
Yep.
And I just made a profit and my wife and I kind of did it together. Our kids enjoyed treasure hunting with us and finding these
man.
little things.
Awesome.
And it was like, bam, there it is. So we started buying lockers here and there, nothing too crazy, selling stuff on eBay. And then we started on Whatnot in the storage unit category.
Well, hold on. Before you keep going, what was this,
Mhm.
up until this point, what was the strangest thing you guys, and I'm saying strange, so strangest thing you found in a storage locker? Unless, of course, it's,
Strangest thing.
if it's R or X rated, let's hold off. But what's strange? Yeah. Anything
Well,
weird?
okay. It would be R or X rated, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right.
I will say, to keep it PG,
Right.
there are comic books that are the Superman, the Batman comic books,
Gotcha.
and then there are other comic books. I
As-
will leave it at that.
Okay. I'll ask straight up. Is that valuable stuff though? Did you sell it? Or did you burn it? Like, okay, my kids are around. It's
there-
out.
if
Right. You
there
got like a
was-
grabbing tool. You're just like grabbing it, moving it out of the way. You're like, yeah, we're not going to touch that one. We're good.
I did a comic book show, sold some comic books, not those comic
Oh,
books.
okay.
But then I didn't know what to do because I still had a bunch left over. There was a local guy that was in the comic books. I wasn't in the comic books. He actually came by, looked at them, told me there was some value in them. He had some sports cards, and we just traded. And so I took
Oh.
the sports cards. He took the comic books. I love doing that kind of stuff.
I bet he
Value
did.
for both people.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. You got your trade.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And keep going.
So I'll go from that to say we started in the storage unit category and we started selling. We did jewelry shows because we found so much jewelry. My wife enjoys jewelry, so she did some shows like that. Then we got a vinyl record collection. That was a blast. We had a lot of fun with that. Sold that. We, would play the music one night. We'd sit down. The two of us would hang out, play music, and sell these vinyl records. That was so much fun.
Oh,
So that's
man.
where blue collar collecting came from because it was a lot of fun to sell whole collections of one thing. So we also got a NASCAR die cast collection one time, massive Earnhardt collectors. We sold those die casts off on Whatnot and other platforms. And so that was so much fun. One of the most fun was a knife collection. I enjoy knives, a lot of case knives and stuff we found in a storage unit. Over 150 knives sold all on Whatnot starting at $1. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
But with all of that and the little units here and there, I'm very frugal with the units I buy, and I'm very conservative. There was one particular unit, which I guess we'll get into, which
Yeah.
was in December of 2023. I saw a unit pop up, and I will definitely send you the picture, so hopefully you guys will be able to see it. But if you're watching, not just listening, but you should watch and listen, do it both.
I like that. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So in this unit, it was going for relatively inexpensive for what units go for, and I'll tell everyone what it went for because it's no secret. But in the unit, I could see the corner of the boxes, the 4-row card boxes that we all know, hate and love, whatever you want to consider, right?
Both.
Hate,
Exactly.
yeah.
RJ
So
hates.
I could see the corner of one, and I said, it was at $50. I said, I'll bid to 60. I bid to $60. I won the unit.
Oh man,
Other than the corner of that box, there was a lot of things that you would contribute to an elderly couple, whether it's walking stuff, things along those lines. So a lot of people don't like, and I think it was 10 by 10, and a lot of people don't like to clean those out. It takes a while to clean these out. So when I win these, I'll usually call my wife because she's with the kids, and she'll run over and pay the rest because you have to pay for it, as some people might know. But until you pay for it, the people can pay for it, and then you lose it, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wait.
once you win yeah.
So you pay $60, but if you don't go to the site and pay, somebody can jump you basically.
No,
So just the owners, yeah.
Online, you pay and they take a small percentage. Then you have to go to the facility yourself and you have to pay the rest of it. Until you pay the rest of it, the owners of the unit can call in and pay their past dues,
I see.
which has happened to me before. And thankfully, people get their stuff back. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
So my wife will go down and she'll pay the rest of the 50 some odd dollars that we owed because they took their percentage. And she opened up and she sent me a picture and she's like, what are we going to do? There is so much stuff in here. And I was like, just see what those white boxes are, the ones with the cards. Well, they were cellophane wrapped, which was a little odd, but I guess mice couldn't get in, whatever. And she pulled out one, opened it up, and she sent me a picture. And she doesn't know a lot about cards, but she understands that if they're top loaded, they might be a little bit better. She pulls out a couple just to send me pictures because I'm not at the facility with her.
Right.
And things like 2007 Tom Brady X-Fractors, which is like a $70 card. 2008 Tom Brady Refractor, which is like a $70, $40, $50 card, whatever it was at the time and what it is now. Autographs of you-know-who. Barry Bonds, 1 of 1 was in there. And she's sending these pictures, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is huge.
You're like, hey, boss, I quit.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I got that, and I always did sports card streams on Whatnot as well as Storage Unit 1. So I'd always do a sports card one and storage unit stuff. Storage unit stuff would do better for me. Sports card stuff, I just enjoyed doing. This one, I got this collection back, and I didn't know a lot about baseball, but I kind of grew a following on Whatnot after I got this collection that would kind of teach me. And I'd see some cards go for a little bit more than others. Like, for instance, I had a bunch of Nolan Arenado rookies. I don't know a lot about them, but when I started streaming, those started climbing and going for more. And I'm like, what is this? And then a couple people would tell me, hey, those are good cards. Those are good cards. But all in all, I don't know. But all in all, I did very well on that unit. I still have cards from it. There was probably over 250,000 to 200,000 cards. The guy did a lot of base. He built a lot of sets, but just really cool things from the early 2000s to about 2018. That's what the range was. So
Okay.
it was a lot of fun to go through and a lot of fun to sell and whatnot. And that's what kind of propelled me and kind of shifted everything towards cards.
So, like I know you said the 101 bonds is in there. Like, were you coming across like Ichiro rookies, like anything else like that, where you're just like, all right, this is gonna go off?
So the really interesting part is I didn't know a lot about baseball, and the majority of it was baseball. So I started selling this collection, and as most people know, and especially nowadays with my streams, is that if I can get a really good deal, the only investment I had was $60 in my time at that point. So that point is when I started, well, let me do $1 auctions. Let the product speak for itself. let's see how this works. Because before
Right.
that, I didn't do it. And I started doing $1 auctions. I started doing progressive lots where I would add cards as people bid. And I didn't know a lot about these baseball cards because I didn't know a lot about baseball in general. And I'm dropping cards down and I'd watch things shoot up. And afterwards, it'd be like, that was a $90 lot and there's 15 cards here. What was it? And people would be typing in the chat saying that was, that was a Nolan Arenado rookie Topps Chrome Refractor. That's like a $50 card and all these things. I'm like, oh, awesome. And that's where it just went from there. And I learned so much from that.
That's great on your community for stepping in and being like, that was like,
Yeah.
because they're teaching you along that same process of you, like, figuring it all out, which is, great. Yeah. I love the progressive style, because it just gets everybody kind of into it. And you're like, man, there's so much more value here that you can pull. So that's
It
awesome.
creates a little frenzy. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
RJ does that on our streams. It's a lot of fun to watch, and he goes a little crazy sometimes. We got like a stack that high, but people love it, and it's a blast to do. So
yeah. But don't get me wrong. They didn't tell me until after the auction was over how good the card was. Okay. All right. I can say a few names of some really good people. Chat Town is his name. You know who you are. He's a great person. He still comes in my streams. He's been probably my oldest customer and become a friend, honestly. So he's a good person. But
all right. So you have this unit and you start doing these streams. What was your whatnot follower? What was that number at? Because you're at like 12,000 now. So what was it when you started that first unit?
We just hit 13.1 thousand. So that's
there
not to say, but that's where
get it right, man. Get it right.
My bad. My research has failed me.
So I was at about 2,000 at that point. I was at about 2,000 followers. And that unit, what was that?
I said, geez, that's a growth.
Yeah. And that unit didn't single-handedly propel me. There were a couple steps which we can progress through the year essentially as to what grew me. But because I don't want people to see this and think, oh, well, I can't be successful and whatnot because I didn't find that unit. It truly had nothing to do with that unit. That unit just showed me what could be and what I could do.
Absolutely.
And I took that and I ran with it. So
that's so you still have cards from that collection? You said
yes. A couple. I think there is like Albert Pujols, Topps Chrome rookie, or not rookie. I'm sorry, Topps Chrome Refractor, but I think it's the yellow variant or something. Couple numbered cards. There are a handful still. And once in a while I'll find a stack that was put somewhere that I'm like, oh, I remember this. This was from a year and a half ago. So
that's
there's
awesome.
still stuff lingering. Mm-hmm.
All right, so you get this unit. You and your wife are like, okay, here we go. So what's next? What happens next? Now you're okay. We're really hunting for units. We're really hunting for collections. Is that kind of the shift?
Yeah, so I actually stayed with units for a while because I didn't realize it took a while and it took a lot of shows because I want to say those shows with that collection were able to run me for a couple months. And I didn't realize what I had until I got into a handful of shows and I'm like, whoa, I'm still selling this stuff and I still have a lot more. Like, what's going on here? Yeah. So it took a couple months, probably in like February, March timeframe, maybe even April, where I'm still selling through this collection because I go live basically once a week. And back then was a whole lot less. It would be whenever I felt like it. I wasn't very consistent and it would be a lot of pop-ups here and there. So, and we'll talk about how I changed that aspect and what grew me. But so I was just, and I still do it for fun, but it was really just get on whenever I wanted, sell some cards, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'd still do a handful of units. And I mean, the last unit I bought, I want to say was this past November. Cause I can't, if I see something, I gotta investigate it at least and see what I can do and what it'll go for. So, I'll still look at them. I'll still buy them, but now it's turned into mostly collections.
No kidding. So when these are local units in where you live, your home area?
Yes,
do you have you established a radius? Like, I'm not going to go beyond 100 miles, but.
So yeah, it's very interesting. I mean, I will stay within a radius unless something's really good. There's a handful that I've called about, but they have been canceled beforehand, before the end of the bidding.
Oh,
and so I never went to them, but if it's the right thing, especially now, I would travel, but it's very hard because you're not looking at like what's in the collection. You just see what you're like, that might be good,
Right. Yeah.
and you go for there.
It's a
So
gamble.
when they're
Yeah.
local, it's a little bit easier to justify the time that you're going to put into it. When it's further away, very hard to justify in my eyes.
Yeah. Okay. So you buy that unit, you're making some shows. Let's, just talk about the progression and how
Yeah.
you did it. Just get into that.
So I continued with storage unit stuff, and I sold cards, and I was bouncing around with the idea of selling in the storage unit category with those cards and selling in the card category, because the card category seems very oversaturated, especially when you're a newer seller. You're like, there is so much going on here. How do I get people in my room? There's a million streams going on at once.
Yeah.
So I dabbled in both, trying to figure out what was best. And eventually I landed on staying in the sports card category, regardless of how many people I had coming in, because they knew what it was. They wanted this stuff and they were there to buy that stuff. So I stayed in the sports card category whenever I ran those shows. I continued through the summer to buy units. And when I say buy units, I'd never bought a lot. I bought maybe in last year, I bought maybe 4 or 5 units. But if anyone doesn't know, if you buy a unit that's a 10 by 10, you have a lot of stuff coming back to wherever you store it. And for me, it's my garage. And then my wife goes, what are we doing here? There's a lot of stuff downstairs. And I, again, back to the days where you'd pick junk during junk day, you see value in everything. I'm like, I can't get rid of that. What if I need a nail gun that can shoot through concrete one day? I don't know, So I hold on to everything, right? Or I would see the value in it and want to sell it. Like golf clubs. I don't golf. I can't golf worth a dang, but there's value in them, and I'd sell them eventually, and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
that progressed through, and there was a time period in the summer where I did get very discouraged, because as you can imagine, I had this unit with so many cards, and it was selling. And I'm like, okay, here's the start. And I thought I was still staying with storage units. This was just one little chapter in this, whatever, in this selling into whatnot. This is one chapter of blue collar collecting. So when I kind of fizzled out with that, I'm like, great, I have all storage unit stuff. Let's go. And it just wasn't it wasn't as fun for me. And the shipping definitely wasn't as fun. Trying to ship random objects is a pain, rather than cards, which is, going. So
How do you ship a nail gun that goes through concrete, right?
yeah, you got to put fragile on it. You got to tell people it's something else, like a Teletubby instead of a nail gun, because they get freaked out. So I kind of got frustrated in the fact that, like, I'm here now. I've grown a handful of followers, but things aren't selling. And it didn't click in my head until more later on that, like, it was because you enjoyed that, and that projected into what you were doing, right? I do enjoy the storage unit stuff, but it felt more of a chore than the sports card stuff, and that projected in my streams.
I was going to ask at like how you're doing, right? Just a stream for cards versus a storage. Like, I feel like there's so much more that goes on around the storage unit to get that prepped for selling. Where with the cards, you're just kind of like, you could pull out a slot of cards and be like, let's just run these right now, and could be done in an hour or two. How'd that prep go versus like a card show?
So I would do random pulls because that was part of the treasure hunting and finding, but pulling those random pulls, now you have to have that scale nearby, so I can take this vase that I just pulled out and weigh it, and someone wants me to run it, and I don't know anything about the vase. I'm like, hey, this thing holds flowers. I don't know. And then not only that, you got to think, I have to now package this thing that just sold for $3, and it's a glass vase that I have to put and I got to bubble wrap, and I'm like, $3 is not worth my time. Now, granted, there are people that are very successful in that category. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I looked at it like, that wasn't as fun as finding, a LaDainian Tomlinson autographed card from, back in someone's collection. It's like, oh, this is awesome, at least for me.
Yeah.
And so getting frustrated, I kind of took time off. I didn't stream for like 2 or 3 months, and I was like at that 3,500 follower mark, I think, at that point. I'm like, this is kind of weird. And from there, I continued to purchase cars because I enjoyed them, right? And if I found collections, I was dabbling and seeing on Facebook what I could find, what I could buy. Didn't realize all the work that goes into that. I got lucky a few times, got a handful of collections, and I forget exactly when. I want to say it was August, September area. I said, okay, if I really want to do this, I have to take my own advice and I have to be consistent. And anyone out there that wants to start whatnot, the number one thing I will tell you is to be consistent. And don't burn yourself out. And what I mean by that is I chose Sunday mornings. I found on Sunday mornings, it was the time that I had free. It was a time that not all the big sellers were on. So I had a little area and I started super early. I started at 6:30 in the morning, Eastern time.
Yeah.
Before a lot of the big sellers were even awake because they were up the night before selling cars till 2 o'clock in the morning. So I had a spot and I knew I had this spot and I was going to be consistent with the spot. So I stayed consistent week after week after week. And I built a following of people in a community, and people continued to come back and continued to come back. And I could see how it was working, how the consistency was working. And there were times that I was like, ooh, I'm free right now. I should go live. But I didn't want to burn myself out as well.
Yeah.
Because then you get frustrated and you're like, this is exhausting. I was like, stay consistent for what I could do with my lifestyle and what I was doing. Stay the one time a week. And we built that up. And yeah, it went from, like I said, it started at 0, but at that point around 4,000 followers. And now we're at 13,000 followers. And it's been a heck of a journey.
It has. So all of these, you start everything at $1 still, or have you shifted away from that? I mean, I was on a couple of your shows. You're starting some pretty big names, pretty big autographs, RPAs. I mean, everything started at $1. In fact, you had it was $200, $300 helmet. You started at $1 the other day, signed by Clinton Portis.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
That's incredible.
So really what I wanted to do with the brand of blue collar collecting and what I learned watching Whatnot and being a part of Whatnot, because I've been on Whatnot since 2022, 2021, like since really early on. And I watched a lot of streams. I bought stuff in all categories because I enjoyed all of Whatnot. There's a category for plants out there. I don't know if you guys knew that. You could buy plants on Whatnot, full grown, just shipped to your door.
I know what I'm doing after this. Yeah.
Exactly, right? I need a tomato plant. I'm gonna starting at $1. Bid on it.
Yeah.
Look at this plant.
Yeah. Look how ripe these tomatoes are. All right.
So I would be a buyer, and there were times, and maybe you guys have experienced this, and I don't know their situation, so I don't want to speak on that, but the shipping would take forever. And the most frustrating part is you'd watch these people, they'd be live again the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and it still says shipping label made and it hasn't moved, or shipping label's not even made yet. And I'm watching this, and I go, the people that are on Whatnot are more of that blue collar person that work hard for their money, and they're on here to try to get a break from the day-to-day, from the stressors. They just want to be here, hanging out, enjoying something with the community. Same thing when people play video games. They get on, they play video games, they talk to random people on the internet like we do. And that's their stress, their de-stressor. And now they're buying stuff, people, again, that are working extremely hard, maybe overtime to be able to afford to do these things. And it's not shipping. It's not getting there in time. And I was just like, we need to treat some of these people better. And this isn't everyone, but to me, I was like,
sure. Yeah.
Blue collar prices for blue collar people. You work hard for your money. We're going to work hard for you. And that was the playing field for that. And we just continued with it.
I love
That's
it,
awesome.
man. I mean, it comes through in your show. It certainly does. I mean, and if you can, share that story, if you could, about that you shared with me about somebody got $100 on-card auto. I may be wrong on the price, and somebody in your chat said, "Oh man, I missed it. I had to step away." Tell that story.
So, it was just the other night. At this point, we've built this community, and I always tell people, if you're in my stream, like, I never want you to feel pressured to buy anything. If you have just the ability to hang out and talk, please just hang out and talk. I don't want you to overextend yourself or put yourself in debt to buy some cards. I will have more cards next week. I have them every week. But if you can afford and you want to enjoy, go ahead. And there's a handful of people in my stream that are always there every Sunday. TB813 Cards, she's awesome, and she's always there. And she was the one that she really likes Jalen McMillan. Fan of Tampa Bay and the Steelers. I can't forget that. Steelers first, Tampa Bay second. And she'll step in and out of the streams every once in a while, but she'll mod for me and stuff like that.
Right.
And a new person came in, and I invited him in. Great. They started buying some stuff. And I guess she was out of the stream, and he bought a Jalen McMillan RPA from National Treasures. I want to say collegiate. On-card auto to 99. And Jalen McMillan had a phenomenal game in the wild card game. I think he caught a touchdown pass from Baker Mayfield. And I like him. And I don't know the exact price. I'd say anywhere, depending on who it is, $40 on up to whatever. And he purchased it. She wasn't a stream, no big deal. And she came back 30 minutes later, and she would never expect anything from anyone. Don't get me wrong. She's a very great person.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, you just missed it, TB, kind of, having that fun.
A little banter.
She's like, oh, dang it. And this person is first time buyer in our stream, just said, hey, can you grab that and give it to her? And from my bin, because I have bins over here where I put everything. And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And I think just that, that good energy that we try to put in the chat between the customers, the people that are just hanging out, other people feel that and they want to contribute to it or be a part of it. And he did. And then I knew what was going to happen because I know TB and she's a great person, and she immediately wanted to give something back to him. So now she's looking for something that he wanted as well. And there was another auto. Gosh, I can't remember who it was. There was another auto, and they were a Clemson alumni, which was his team, but it was in a pro uniform. Hunter Renfro auto. In the pro uni, and she bought it, and because she knew he liked Clemson from the talk in the chat, and she's like, give that to him. And then she bought something else. She's like, give that to him too. It's just, people do that all the time in the stream, and it's awesome.
I bring that up because that was the vibe I got just watching your show, that your community is very engaged. People are constantly commenting and talking to each other, not even just talking to you. They're chatting with each other. And it was fun to be a part of. I think I was working, but let's not say that out loud. As I was watching your show, and I was like, man, this is just a lot of fun to watch, So your community was, I think you had 40 people strong the entire time, which that's a nice audience. That's a nice, nice group.
Yeah, it really started surprising me, and it steadily climbed here in the past couple months. But Sunday mornings are a big live stream, and the one we're specifically talking about is I tried a midweek show. And that's something that new that we're starting is we're going to start trying to do more midweek shows, because still right now we only do Sunday mornings, and we do about 6 hours on Sunday morning. And that show has been peaking at around 100 people in it, which is mind blowing to me that 100 people want to sit here and communicate and hang out and just vibe with us. But I guess they do. Now that's peak. We'd average around, the last Sunday, we averaged above 50, and the only reason I know that is because when you get above 50, new territory for me, don't get me wrong,
right?
They won't tell you who joins in the chat because there's so many people talking and stuff. So normally it says, Stooge joined the chat, another great person that always comes in. But it doesn't say that, and when you're above 50, and that was new to me. So all last Sunday, we were above that. It was wild. And so we started doing midweek shows, and we did our first one last week, and we're going to continue to do them because now my inventory is growing so much, I need to move it still.
Well, I would just like to say that I'm a fan of the midweek show, so please continue on behalf of all of your followers on Whatnot. We like it because, man, I mean, you're just laying down auto after auto after auto and starting it up at a buck, and I'm like, this guy's nuts. My first time in, and it was just a blast, and they went for fair prices, and it was just a good time. It was
that just goes the testament, to what you're doing, and it's not adding more pressure on you to be like, oh, we're not selling things. There's not enough people in this room. You're there having a good time. You're like, hey, come hang out. Let's sell some stuff. Let's look at some autos. Let's see what happens. And that really portrays a lot, as you're growing a community around that. Like they just, at no point you're like saying there's no pressure, right? And that's half the battle sometimes is like getting past that. Oh, there's 3 people in here. Someone's got to buy. it's not that case. It's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And I'm going to back up. I'm going to rewind. How much pain did it cause you to say Baker Mayfield's name?
Hey, when he was in college, I can appreciate a good player. I'm Oklahoma State through and through, and yes, he played for OU. And while he was a Sooner, he's not my favorite person. But regardless of what anyone thinks about him or whatever the case, he was one of those people that was a walk-on and then made the team, right? And then won a Heisman and then was down and all these things. And that's someone that I can truly root for. So I actually really do like Baker Mayfield because of those types of things.
Yeah,
to me, like that portrays that blue collar attitude that we, talk about all the time with our brand.
Well, that's not the answer I was expecting. I was expecting, I mean, if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're listening, you need to go watch the man's pain as he told that answer right there. It was hard for him to admit. So above your head, you've got a couple things I want to talk about. So if you're listening, try to jump on YouTube. But you're a big OSU guy, Oklahoma State guy. Did your collection, because I can see it up there, did that start from these units, or were you going after that stuff before you started finding the units?
So I actually collected not sports cards for OSU, but other things. So in 2011, I want to say, I believe that's what it was. I think so. My wife and I were at Oklahoma State, and we were at the game where we beat OU. And it was Brandon Whedon and Justin Blackman, which was phenomenal years for us, 2011, 2012 area. Forget exactly when, but we were there at the game and everyone stormed the field. And I don't know if you've ever been to a college game where people storm the field, but you don't have a choice. You're going, right?
Let's go.
Because the reason is because everyone behind you is going and you're being pushed down to storm this field. So I'm going no matter what. This is amazing. This is awesome. Everyone's storming the field. Well, I jumped down, first off, extremely high. If you got bad ankles, don't do it. I was a lot younger then, so I was able to do it. Jumped down, turned around, helped my then girlfriend, now wife, down. And we're running out on the field. This amazing experience. We're seeing all these things, gold posters shaking to come down. And I turn around and I watch this person that is... They tried to jump down the wall and they didn't get back up. I almost felt bad. I wanted to go help. People were just swarming. It was insane.
I almost felt bad.
And you're caught up in the moment. You're just having that. And one of the goalposts come down, and I just remember watching as the goalpost is being carried by students, and Justin Blackman sitting on top of it, being carried across. And I'm like,
oh man,
and my wife and
awesome.
we took a picture. On that field. I can send you the frame thing so you can maybe put it up here on YouTube.
Man, do
Go
it.
watch it on YouTube.
Send it.
And it's my wife and I and a 5x7 next to the 2 tickets that we had for the game, and then the poster for the game itself, and it's framed. She framed it and everything else. And so little things like that I collected. Whether it's like a mug of some sort that has Oklahoma State on it. Anyone that's been to Stillwater knows Eskimo Joe's. We got a bunch of Eskimo Joe's cups, like little things like that to remind us of college and the fun experience it was and stuff like that. So when I got into cards more so, I started collecting Oklahoma State stuff, which is great because they're inexpensive, because there's not a lot of great players besides Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, stuff like that.
Yeah, just them, just those guys.
And so, yeah, I got that. And one of the big things that I got is up top. It says Cowboys. I don't know if you can see it up there. Maybe I'll send a picture of that too.
Yeah.
And it's their game worn patches, right? Yeah, it says Cowboys. And I had Owlboys at one point because I didn't have the C. So it was the Owlboys, which is how we felt this past season. It hurt a lot. But I couldn't find it. And I'm a card guy. I'm on Whatnot. People in my streams were looking for it. That's the community we built. Is they're like, oh, I'm going to find that for you. I'm going to find that. And none of them could find it. And these are card people. My wonderful wife goes on Facebook, joins a couple groups, which I didn't think about for whatever reason, starts asking around, and someone got back to her with a link, says, hey, here it is. It was listed wrong on eBay, so go buy it or whatever. And she got on, she bought it. I'm a very hard person to shop for, as some people might be able to relate to. And that was an awesome, awesome Christmas present from her and my kids. And it was it wasn't wildly expensive, but it completed the Cowboys. So now this year, maybe we'll have a better season. We're not Cowboys anymore.
No, I wouldn't count on it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm just giving
Just
you a hard
crushing
time.
dreams over here, Matt. Jeez.
Uh-huh.
That's okay. That's okay. So yeah, by the way, when you jump into our show notes, follow this guy on TikTok and on Instagram because his wife joins in on the fun. I mean, it's actually hysterical watching some of the stuff you're doing with your kids in the backyard. Every kid should grow up like that. So jump on there and give them a follow because it's a lot of fun. And who you are is exactly who you come through. And I like there's one, I don't know if it's TikTok or Instagram where you guys did a little video where you come home with another collection and she looks out the window and just shakes her head. Absolutely hysterical. And I can relate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fortunately my wife also collects. So, we balance each other out.
Yes.
I
My
buy
wife,
cards and yeah.
I don't know what she collects. My wife likes to collect sterling silver and turquoise jewelry, which is way more than any of these cards. So we're good, right?
Just keep reminding her if she's listening.
Yeah.
Don't
exactly.
forget. Yeah, it's
But
all right.
the
It's
really, the really interesting thing with that is I got to a point. It was after my 10,000 hour or my 10,000 follower show. I did a 10-hour stream for 10,000 followers, and I started thinking, I'm like, I need to, if I'm going to continue doing this, like I need to advertise somewhere, and TikTok and Instagram is the place to be when it comes to that kind of stuff. Specifically TikTok, it's phenomenal the way they work. So I started making some TikToks that I thought were pretty funny. I would find the hot trend, and I'm like, well, let me relate that to cards somehow. And it seems like a lot of people like it, and a lot of people like the talking when I just talk to the camera and explaining something. I get a lot of views on those, so it's something I'm going to continue. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, you do a great job, man.
Awesome.
It's actually a lot of fun to watch, and yeah, you definitely need to keep that up for sure. Especially the kids in the snow on the tractor doing donuts. That was absolutely hysterical. That was great. That one.
One of the big things that we started doing is after a while, we started doing a shipping show on Whatnot. Because I was sitting there and I was like, well, I'm shipping in front of my camera and stuff, where I do my streams. Like, might as well go live and show people the experience. And it gives a record to me that, hey, I shipped these cards in case someone wanted to dispute it. Hey, it's right here.
Yeah.
So we started doing a shipping show that would be the same day, but in the afternoon, and we still do it every Sunday. And we get a lot of good feedback. People come in, they ask me, what kind of printer do I use? How do I get followers? And I give all the information out that I possibly can to people and they take it, and we've helped a handful of people out, and I guess we're going to continue doing it, but maybe we'll start doing it on TikTok instead. I don't know. It's a wild world out there, so we'll see.
That's
Just
interesting
check
that
it
you say
out.
that. Have you kind of thought about like other platforms, because there's so many now that you can kind of stream through, anywhere from eBay to, like you're saying, TikTok. And, I know your follower group is on Whatnot, but I don't even know, can you multi-stream at one point, or you're like running shows on, Sundays on your normal and then Mondays on another day?
Yeah, so I've really thought about possibly doing the Whatnot live stream, and I need another device, I guess, at this point, and running a TikTok live stream that's watching me do what I'm doing on Whatnot. And it's like, hey guys, if you want to come over and buy some of these cards, you can hop on here. But that's a lot of technology that I don't understand. So if I had someone that could teach me how to do it, because I do have OBS now, which is brand new to me, I would love to do something like that and try to incorporate another platform so people can see what's going on and bring people over. Because the one thing with Whatnot, I think a lot of people come over and some people get a bad taste in their mouth because maybe they went into the wrong room. And
Right.
when I say wrong room, I don't mean that they're doing anything wrong. I mean that it doesn't match their style.
Yeah.
Right. There's some people out there that do auctions a lot differently than I do them. And maybe that's a great for some people, but I believe for the majority of people, it matches more the laid back, low pressure, normal auction. Let's hang out and have a good time. So
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it. I don't think anybody enjoys being told to or screamed at, you need to get this bid up or I'm done. I mean, that's not fun for anybody. So,
No.
you're in there just to have a good time. And like you said earlier, it's a little break from life, and you get in there and you're looking for that card, and
Yep.
I don't want to be
It's just,
screamed
there's
at.
there's a real social aspect to what's going on now with shopping, live shopping, whether it's TikTok and whatnot. To me, I think are two of the really big ones in the space of live shopping in general. And it is a social aspect. It's QVC on steroids.
Yeah.
You can really be in there and be a part of something. Just aside from sports cards and cards in general, I always tell a story. My wife tried to buy a purse that fit her wallet and her phone. Bought one, didn't fit her wallet and the phone, had to send it back. Bought another, didn't fit the wallet, but fit the phone, and had this whole thing. If you're live shopping with someone and you wanted to purchase something, you can ask in the chat, hey, does that fit a wallet and a phone? Boom, boom, here it is. Awesome, I'll purchase it. And so I think we're going to see a lot of trend going that way in the sports card community. I think it's going to be huge. So
do
it's not
you,
going away.
when you stream, since you've streamed so much and you've had so much interaction, is there something that you wish Whatnot had to be like, man, this would make the stream so much cooler, or just a feature that you're like, if it could bundle this all together real quickly for me or something like that?
There is one thing aside from a sellers, more for collectors, that I think would be really interesting, but they're going to steal it from me and make so much money off it. But I'll say it anyway, because I'm a simple man. If you were in my live stream and you're like, I know this guy really likes Oklahoma State cards, this, that, and the third, and he has a card that I really like in his shop, right? Maybe not so much for auctions, but in his shop. And he's like, man, I really want his $100 card. And I have these cards over here that he really might be interested in because that's what he collects, that you could have those in your shop as the buyer of my auction, right? And then you can send an offer, say, I offer these 2 cards for your card, a trade offer, essentially, that Whatnot kind of handles. Now, it'd be very hard because Whatnot's going to want some sort of fee off of it. So I understand that maybe there would have to be a transaction fee. Credit card would have to be, charged or whatever. But if I wanted to get your card and I know you liked one of my cards, I could proffer, hey, I have this card and I can almost, send a trade your way. And then you could look at it and be like, ooh, I do like that card, except Whatnot goes ahead and takes their fees. And then you have to ship the card and they have to ship the card. It's tracked both ways. And I think it builds that collector back up, and Whatnot will still get their money if they need it. And it's a safer way to do trades rather than, because I have so many people that are like, hey, I'd love to trade you something. And I'm like, I understand that. It's just very hard because of the tracking, and there's a lot of scams out there. Not saying anyone's scamming, but, just.
I could see that because they just integrated the whole auction side, right, a little while ago. So it's kind of seems like that would be a good progression, right? You have that auction side, but now you could have a trade platform within it that's just like, hey, these are up. They're in my shop, but they're up available for trade, and that'd be pretty interesting to see them if they could pull that through.
Whatnot, if you're listening, give Matt a call.
Yeah,
give him.
You'd be the first beta tester right there. You'd be like, yeah, I'll do it.
I love it, man.
Free fees for life. It all works.
I like that.
Ooh, that'd be nice. There you go.
Yeah.
I'll take that all day long.
I think we all would. All right. So talking about, as we kind of wind down here, what's next for you? Where do you see your channel going, and what do you got? What's planned?
Gosh, it's so interesting because there's so much more to talk about. But I think definitely what's next is we're still buying collections, and I've gotten to a point now where people are reaching out to me and the collections are getting bigger and more, and I'm taking in a lot more collections than I can sell on a 6-hour Sunday stream. So I am definitely going to be doing at least one more stream a week. If not me, Mrs. Blue Collar, my wife, that's what everyone calls her. She's definitely going to be jumping on stream. She's done it a handful of times. She enjoys doing it, and the chat loves when she does it as well. They always tell her, I'll leave the room, and they'll be like, hey, pull out the boxes that he won't let us see. So
that is awesome. Does she do it? Does she do it?
Yeah. No,
okay.
There is none of those boxes. Everything's open for everyone at this point. But so she wants to get more streaming, and depending on how things go and where the kids go with schools and stuff like that, it makes it easier for her. And just going to grow from there. And we got hats coming, not this one. This one isn't one that we really like. It was one prototype. We're working with someone locally, trying to give some local business to, locally owned businesses. And we're going to hopefully get some hats and some shirts, and there's some good ideas coming that way. Continue with the TikTok and the Instagram stuff and see where that goes, and just have a good time. But I think one thing that we're going to take with a lot of the TikTok, we're still going to have fun, but teaching people. So many people come into our shipping shows and asking, hey, how can I gain viewers? How can I gain followers? And there's a lot of different things and a lot of different steps that can be taken. And I'm never the guy, and I never will be the guy to be like, hey, buy my, whatever, my thing to teach you how to do. I'll just tell you. I'll tell you. Hey,
sign up now, $19.99.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just tell you, work hard, be consistent,
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
But I'll lay it out for people because I enjoy helping people, and I think that's what the community is about. So
That's
there's a
awesome.
lot more of that stuff coming, and I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. You guys are the first one to contact me about a podcast, so I appreciate that. So this has been a whole lot of fun. I love doing this kind of stuff.
We know
Awesome.
talent when we see it, man. So I mean, this has been seriously for us. RJ and I just love the hobby. We love the people in it. So
Yeah.
when we find people that are doing something, we're doing it right, and it's fun to be watching. We just want to have a conversation and do what we can to help you grow. I mean, I know you're at 13,000. I said 12, and I'm sorry, but
13.1. 13.1.
13.
Remember that. 13.
If the next time I talk to you, you're 14, I'm going to take credit for that. RJ and I will say, nice job, us. So, that's what we're here to do.
100%. Yeah.
But I definitely see us having you back on. I can't imagine we wouldn't have you back on. I mean, I think you're set up there. When you're on OBS, you can see your trays. I want to take, maybe we take a dive into how you do that, and who knows what else. I mean,
yeah,
a lot to talk about.
There's a lot that I would say, and we won't get into it this podcast. So make sure you guys subscribe because we'll get into it at another time. But about how to do things and where to go and how to start out, because I did start with no social media following. I started social media after 12,000 followers. So there is a way to do it, and it's not difficult, but it takes time. That's really what it comes down to.
I think that's what comes down to, right? If you make it or don't make it in this, right? Because some people come and they just want profit right away, and it's like, it's not really about the profit. You have to have that collector, fun side to it. And it's like you're saying, you hit on the nail on the head, the consistency. Like if you're not consistent, you're popping up. It's hard to get that following. Like Matt and I, took a break for a while and came back in, and like one person came in and they're like, you're alive. And I'm like, yep, we're
Yes,
around.
we are.
We got other things working out right now, but we're around.
And we talked a lot today about the community that we built on whatnot, and we're still building, and everyone's always welcome in our community, especially at Blue Collar Collecting. But there's been, and I don't want this to be corny, but there's been a handful of people that I'll say Chat Town's always been there since the beginning. The guy named Stooge is always in there. Ed Morris, TB813 Cards. There's a handful of people that are always in there if I forgot them. But I appreciate those people and everyone else that comes into, but they're always modding for me, and they've been there since the beginning. And having that support day after day, Coach Rad Cards, it means a lot, and it's awesome. So thank those people and everyone else that comes in. It's awesome. So
That's awesome, man. Again, it says a lot about who you are when you're making sure that you're thanking people that help you grow. So that's awesome.
yeah, it's like the Grammys. I gotta hold the trophy.
Wait, we got to play the music. We got to play the music to get them. I was like,
we're gonna out them here. All right.
There you go.
Well, Matt, it has been a blast, man. We definitely are gonna have you back again. But everybody, give him a follow and check him out everywhere, TikTok, whatnot, and on Instagram. It's a lot of fun just to watch this guy do his thing. So thanks a lot for being here, Matt.
thanks so much.
Thank you guys so much. It means the world. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Behind the Breaks. We appreciate you being here with us and helping us grow this community. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and YouTube.
Make sure to like, follow, or subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.